after a long night of action in the event, you start off with a ladder match. The women's match was good. Right before that match was the amazing title match, the NXT Championship. The fans were so invested in this storyline and in these two guys that they were absolutely white hot. They were so good with everything. And the match itself delivered big time. And again, the emotion, the storytelling of this match was so freaking good. The one spot I couldn't believe, the sunset flip powerbomb to the concrete floor. Ow. That had to hurt. They smacked him with the knee brace. That had to hurt too. Just, they really beat the shit out of each other. And they made it look so good. The fans were in it the entire time. The emotion expressed everything. And the other moment of the match was when, at the end, it looked like Gargano was about to practically stab him with the broken end of that crutch. And Gargano showed mercy. And again, before I keep going on, the other little bit of attention to the detail, how the referee had a regular staff polo on during the match. Like, I think the NXT referees should have their own shirts anyway, their own referee shirts, because it is their own brand. Like how back in the day it was Raw referees had the regular zebra stripe shirts, and SmackDown had the blue shirts. And I think NXT really should have their own referee shirts, which would be great. But I digress. But the detail, it's an unsanctioned match. The referee's only there to count the pinfall or tell him that the match is over with submission. And he wasn't really a referee by any bounds. He was just basically the supervisor of the match. And he was wearing the NXT staff shirt. It was great. That little attention to detail is just so great. And even further, going back to the attention to detail, because this is where it kind of reminded me to point that out. Gargano was showing Ciampa mercy, or at least it looked like it. And they pointed out back in the Cruiserweight Classic, which was another just absolutely just brilliant match between Ciampa and Gargano. Like, that adds to the story too. Ciampa showed mercy that he didn't want to pin or he didn't want to finish off Gargano because they're friends at that time. And Gargano, it made more sense for him to show mercy because, I hate this guy. He made it so that I wouldn't have a job, and he attacked me, and he betrayed me. And then they were going to go to when they would just sit in the ring together after a loss. Like, I was sucked into this match from beginning to end. And it's just like, oh, Johnny, what the hell are you doing? And then when Gargano tries to swing the brace at him, he goes over and then hits the Gargano escape. Then goes into the detail of, looked like he was going to go for the STF with Gargano's injured leg, surgically repaired leg. And then he puts the brace over his face to submit him for the victory. Like, that was so... Oh my God. Like, oh my God. That match was so brutal as it was, and the finale of that match was so just... Oh, that was so boss. That was so boss. It was so good. And then Candice LeRae coming out celebrating with him afterward, it just made it that much better. Like, oh my God. Unbelievable. Like, right now, I've been talking about this show now for about 45 minutes or so, give or take, to thank yous I did at the beginning and whatever. Like, right now, I'm so hyped. Like, I just went through the whole show, and I'm still as hyped now as I was watching it for the first time last night, and even the second time last night. I'm emotionally invested in NXT, and each of these feuds that they highlighted at Takeover, I was emotionally invested. It was genius. It was brilliant. Oh, you're kissing their ass. Yeah, but yeah. When they're wrong and when they've done stupid things, I've called them out on it too. Again, the War Games pay-per-view wasn't really. It was okay. It wasn't that great. I mean, the War Games match itself was great, but they didn't sell out that arena. This was sold out. Granted, it was WrestleMania weekend. It was, I'll be fair when I see it. If it was bad, I'll call it out. But this was just like on a whole other level of just, it made you emotionally spent. And I really was like, oh my god. I can't get enough. I can't get enough. Oh my god, what a great show. I cannot wait for the next NXT TakeOver, but TakeOver is now done, and now we get to move on to the main event of not only WrestleMania week, but the whole pro wrestling calendar. WrestleMania. So before I get onto that, let me take a little bit of a brief music break so I can gather myself a little bit, make some WrestleMania predictions, and maybe we'll talk about the Hall of Fame very briefly. Before, you know what? No, they took enough time. Before I take the music break, that was a long freaking show. I mean, all the people that were inducted were deserving. I have my issues with the Warrior Award, but that's for another discussion. God, that took forever. However, I come from the point of, like, I've shared locker rooms with a lot of legends, and I could just sit there and listen to them talk for hours. Thinking about it now a couple days later is maybe a little excessive. Maybe they should put time limits on this. But I get it why they don't, because these people have lived a life of a wrestler, and they have so many things to share. So it's a moment for them to really express their gratitude, tell a few stories, and that's really about it. But man, that dragged on way too long. But before I go into the music break, congratulations to all the Hall of Famers of the class of 2018 as well. They'll get their recognition today during WrestleMania, as well as they traditionally have done since they brought back the Hall of Fame in 2004 for WrestleMania 20, which is always a good touch. And yep, now when we get back from this side of the music break, we will be talking about the main event of the pro wrestling calendar in this entire week and what everybody gathered in New Orleans for, and what everybody will be gathering to watch on the WWE Network today. WrestleMania. I'll be right back in just a few moments.
Now playing Our Fears.
And dogs will get us home. That's all we can know. Break out all the windows
Alright, welcome back to Open Mic Wrestling Night here on Fill in the Void Podcast Network via Spreaker, Spreaker.com/filling_the_void. Before this, you heard Our Fears were frequently featured on DJ Classic Presents the Indie Artist Realm here on Fill in the Void Podcast Network. You can also listen to many great shows, including Clerks Minute, Boy Meets Retrocast, Travis and Vic's Drunken Horror Adventures, Nerd Rage Renegades, Blake and Sal Show, the John LeBang Show, the Scholars of Wrestling, and Whatever It Takes, Degrassi Podcast. You can also listen to archives of things like the Nerd Herders, Messy Magical Motherhood, Making the Pieces Fit, Indie Power Rankings, Hit Points Gaming, and Full Circle Podcast here on the network as well. Whether it be through Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, all great platforms for Fill in the Void Podcast Network. Take the time out to go support the rest of the shows here on the network as well.